Blunt Cuts is a podcast fueled by creativity, curiosity, and empowerment. We cut through the daily mess of life. This is unfiltered honesty. Park your passive at the door. This is Blunt Cuts. Welcome to Blunt Cuts. I'm CJ, and please welcome to the studio, Jazmine Willis, founder and creator of Neo Noel. Hey, Jazmine.
Hi, yeah, thank you so much for having me on.
Thanks for joining us today. So we are so excited to dive in today and talk about inclusivity in beauty brands and why it's so important. I know that you're working on a pretty amazing beauty brand by the sounds of things. And I just would love for you to kind of start with a little bit about you and why you do what you do and why you really found this call to change beauty brands.
Yeah, so it's been a crazy path trying to find, what's my passion. But I actually started off in film. I always thought I would be like a writer, director. That's what I went to school for. And then I also minored in entrepreneurship just so I could have that, a safety net, just something to balance out, just a balance. Yeah. And then, so after graduation, like most postgrads, didn't find too many things in my field, especially in film. It's very, very competitive. So I just wanted to get some office experience. Basically found myself in the legal field, was the receptionist. And then I quickly moved my way up to the HR and office manager, which was crazy. I was like the young girl in the office, and then suddenly I'm managing people twice my age. And it was a crazy experience, but it really gave me that business mentality where you kind of just have to step up to the plate regardless of experience or age. So that was kind of my work experience. And as far as when makeup came into the picture, I always knew I liked makeup, but I'm not a makeup artist. I'm not like a YouTuber or Instagram. I'm not any of that. I just like makeup, and I just like reading about the ingredients. I don't know. It's just kind of like, I don't know. That's just my thing. But I always knew that there were products that I wish I could have that weren't out in the market. But it never occurred to me that, I could be the one to create those. It just, maybe I didn't see role models, or I just thought I was too young. I just didn't see myself being the one to step up and thinking I could make my own business. And it really wasn't until I think it was like a perfect combination of, we were all at home because of COVID and we had more time. And then also Black Lives Matter movement in June, when people were looking for, more Black owned brands to buy from. I wanted to buy clean makeup brands from a Black owned business, and I couldn't find anything. There's nothing that was really calling my name. So that's where it kind of hit me like, okay, well, there's this huge white space for really high performing clean products with a diverse shade range, because the clean beauty space, they're making their mark a little bit, in foundation and concealer. We've got a diverse shade range, 40 shades, and they're doing good in those aspects. But as far as lips, which is a product I wear every day, lipstick, I didn't see that shade range. So it's kind of where it just hit me. I found it's like a perfect storm of all things were aligned, and I dove right in from there.
I love hearing, those business stories. And I think that, sitting in this quarantine time of life, I think it's hit women in a lot of different ways. So it's encouraging to hear that you saw opportunity and are jumping in full force. I, on the other hand, have just been like inundated with mental health. And I'm like, I don't want to do anything, and I don't want to get up, and I don't want to continue any of my passions. And I think I'm not passionate anymore. I'm just going to stop. And then I'll go the next day and I'm going to write a book. I'm going to start a speaker series, and then I'm going to go.
No,
So
I went through that
dynamic.
too. The ups and downs. Yeah. It's
Yeah,
no
it's
like
so
clear path. I had those ups and downs too of like, oh, I'm just going to sit on the couch for a week. And then the next week, oh, I'm super passionate. Yeah. That's the great thing about this time to reflect, I think.
So what was the turning point for you where you're like, I actually can do this, and I'm going to do this? Was it a specific person, or was it, all you, or how did that come about?
Yeah. So like I said, in June, when things were really changing and brands were, disclosing like that they wanted to do better, and they were figuring out ways, how could we help out Black business people, especially women. And then that's where Glossier launched their grant initiative. And there's a couple other brands. There was Third Love, Tower 28, all those brands came out with grant initiatives to help Black owned businesses. And I was like, wow, this is like the universe kind of telling me I need to get my butt up and start working on these grants, working on my business plan, and really flesh out the products that I wanted to create. And, all these grants had deadlines. So that's why I kind of just started moving like full force. Like I had
Amazing.
to, yeah. And it was just like, it took off from there.
So you applied for some of those grants, I assume?
Yeah, yeah. And, you know, when I applied, I was still very early in my concept. So obviously I didn't get them because they're looking for more brands that were kind of already ready to launch at that point. But the good thing that came from that was a lot of them were having webinars and meetings with the founders of the brand. So you could actually, like, I just finished I think it was a 2-week long webinar with Glossier for Black owned brands, which was really cool. I learned so much from the supply chain to marketing, and then same thing with there's another brand, KNC Beauty. They also had a little webinar series this past week, and this is their second round of that, and it's like a 4-hour webinar. So a lot of those brands, like they really helped me with the education piece of that, because I don't think a lot of us women of color, especially in the business sector, we don't really, we don't see those role models for us, and two, it's really hard to get that education piece unless you've gone to school for business.
Yeah. And I think just the price point too, right? Sometimes that's
Yeah,
an untouchable space. And it's so cool to see that companies are stepping up and really starting opportunities and providing that education. So that is
yeah.
empowering in itself. And I'm sure that set you up to have a really great business plan as well through that process, right?
Yeah, no, it allowed me to, obviously my first plan was, looking back at it, it was terrible, but it allowed me to iterate and keep making changes and really get that experience of, and now I'm not so much in a rush either. So, because I was in that, like, oh, I have 2 weeks to get this business plan out. So now that I don't have that crunch, but I do have like a fleshed out business plan, I think that's really helped me to kind of accelerate it and iterate on my plan.
So how many iterations so far?
I'm probably, I feel like every month there's like a completely new concept, or just, I've
It'll
learned so
continue
much.
forever. Yeah.
Yeah, I learn so much every day. So there's always pieces that I'm bringing in every day. And I'm always trying to like pack my mind with as much information as I can, even though we're busy. But I think podcasts are a really good way to kind of learn on the go. And I Google everything too. So Google
I
and
like to
podcasts have
say
been
my
my teacher.
research team, but I mostly Google.
Pretty much. That's how you do it nowadays. Good old
But
Google.
things are so accessible from that perspective of anything you want to know, you can find in anyone you want to help you, get better in a space. They're
Yeah.
just a reach away. So I think that's what's so encouraging about building a business right now. In the world in which we're living in, I think that it isn't always just about the same people developing the same things and legacy brands. I think that there is room and space for, like you said, brands to kind of come out of this and really solve
Yeah.
a space that solve a problem and be there in a space that needs that. So let's dig
Yeah.
into that idea of inclusivity a little bit. And I think your own personal experience with this, like, what is it like walking into a store right now in a makeup aisle,
Yeah.
and walk us through that just for listeners.
Yeah, I didn't even realize at first, I just thought it was normal to mix like 2 or 3 colors. Like I thought everyone did that. I thought like, I mean, and it is understandable now that I'm on the brand side. Like I get it. It's how expensive it is to create so many shades. Like or manufacturers, they want you to have a minimum per shade. So I get it. It's really expensive, but as a consumer, I thought it was totally normal. And so yeah, almost every part of my makeup routine I would mix. So my foundation, my concealer, my lipstick, my eyeshadows. I mean, even in the clean space too, I thought that was a part of it, that in clean beauty, we're not there yet. We haven't made the leaps and bounds as traditional makeup has, but yeah, that was my experience. And then I kind of realized, like, I would see new products launch and with the brands I like, and I would see online everyone's so excited to try it on, and there'd be so many cute videos and stuff, and then I buy the product and I'm like, none of these colors look good. I actually can't, I can't relate to all the fun that everyone else is having. So that was kind of my experience with it. And that's where I just realized, like, I don't think it has to be this way. I think we can actually, demand better from these brands, or we can just kind of do it ourselves if they're not going to do it.
Yeah, the idea of mixing, from that perspective of I grew up in fashion, right? So I was only always around, from a young age. My mom didn't wear makeup. I never really grew up in a house where like beauty was a focus. So when I got into fashion and I started having people transform me into someone else through makeup and hair pieces and all the things, like that's where I really learned beauty and beauty products. But when I would go to a store, I couldn't get the same products that people were using. Plus, like you said, it's about mixing shades. Like, yeah, for me, out of box, sure, we can maybe put on a nude lip and it'll be fine. I'm white, fairly like olive tones, like don't have any, abnormalities in my skin. So for the most
Yeah.
part, most products can work on me out of the box. But what I saw, the difference being is when we're doing a runway show with women, of all different skin tones from around the world, makeup artists have to create the same look that the designer is asking for. So they're mixing hundreds of different shades for all these different skin tones and types and body types. And so that's like what I grew up kind of seeing. So I was like, well, everybody had that same lip. Like that's what we all
Hmm.
had. But like after learning and talking to
Yeah.
you and talking to my other Black girlfriends, and it's like, oh no, that's right. I can buy one lipstick and you're buying four. So therefore,
Yeah.
like at $35 a pop, like we're spending a lot to just achieve the
Yeah.
same color. And like, why is that right? That's not right. Like that's not okay. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And even just, on their social media content too. Like, obviously I think they're doing a really good job of having inclusive models on their socials and their website. But I think we can probably do even better, not just have the token one person of color or anything like that. I think, especially with women of color, we come in so many different skin tones and shades. Like, I wouldn't wear the same lipstick as my mom. She's completely lighter than me. And I think brands should kind of think, let's not just think of maybe 3 arm swatches. Let's kind of branch it out more. Let's show maybe what would look like on freckled skin, or maybe different types of skin tones. And especially on YouTube, like for me, when I'm going to buy a new product, I'm going to go search, this product, a swatch on dark skin or medium dark skin, whatever. And usually I don't see that, I don't find that YouTube video, but there'll be tons for, other skin tones, the lighter ones, but not for mine. So that will actually stop me from buying a product, because, I want to see what it looks like. And if I can't, then I'm not going to buy it. So, that social media point of view too is really important.
yeah, absolutely. I think that that's where we consume a lot of the beauty products that we're wanting to come under. And I think that there's a huge responsibility to what we're seeing in social media, and especially for women. And I have a big issue with filters, and I just can't. And they're becoming so
Yeah.
lifelike that it's so hard to tell if somebody is, I mean, even the live ones, like the mapping,
Hmm.
and I mean the science behind all of that is just so um A, incredibly fascinating, and B, incredibly scary and
Yeah.
damaging to young girls who think that that's reality, and to even those of us of a certain age who may be getting a little bit of ring, like it's like that's not real life. And
Yeah.
that's where I kind of fall back on, like, I want to feel good about the products that I'm using and that I'm putting on my face, and I don't want it to be coming from a place of like damage and self-deprecation, right? So
Right, right. Yeah, we want it to be because we want to look good for ourselves, and we just want to have, I mean, that's the thing about people say, like, why are you making products in quarantine when we're all wearing masks? But I don't think it's just about, your outward appearance for other people. I think it's totally for yourself, and just the act of like putting on makeup at home, like, on Saturday morning, like right now, I'm all dolled up. I think just because it's fun, I think it's just a nice time by yourself to put on makeup. And I don't know, it's
yeah,
just
I
not
found
always
a
for,
window
the
and a
outward.
lamp has really toned down my makeup doing, but I love doing it too. Like
Yeah.
last weekend, I woke up and like just did my makeup. I had a little extra time on my hands, which is rare, and I was like, I do like this. This is fun. I miss like being pretty. I miss
I
having
know.
this time with myself, right? Like, I think it's that time with yourself where you're just, in the moment of painting the canvas. And there is something beautiful and like soul soothing about
Yeah.
that. So I'm with you in the sense that makeup can be a really great thing, right? And it is to
Yeah.
me personally. So
Yeah. Yeah.
it's time for a quick break. Welcome back to Blunt Cuts. Let's keep talking. Talk about safety. I am just fascinated. The more and more I read and consume and feel, and I have, a few friends in the safe beauty space, some of the major brands that we are starting to know and hear about. But I had no idea until maybe 5 years ago that like beauty products aren't regulated. Like it's just
Mm-hmm.
fascinating to me that there's so many things on our shelves that are unsafe.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, with the word clean, brands could just throw that on anything, and there's no like substantiation behind that. They could say green, they could say clean, and that could mean anything. And I feel a lot of brands are doing that right now. I think a lot of people are realizing like we need to get on the bandwagon of clean, so we're just gonna say all natural, or we're gonna put like some leaves on our packaging to make it look, like it's appears greener or cleaner, things like that. And yeah, it's totally unregulated. So it's up to the brands to really be open and honest and transparent what they're putting in their products. And it's really up to the consumer too to do their due diligence as well, and kind of decide, because being safer with your products, you don't have to be perfect. You don't need to have super clean hair products, hair and skincare and makeup. Like I think that's really stressful to try and clean up all your routine, and switch it up and throw all that's a lot of work. So I think if we have the choice of where we want to clean up our routine too, I think that's great too. It's not as much pressure.
Yeah, baby steps, right? Like I think that
Yeah.
I get into this internal dialogue with myself where I have this giant checklist of is this brand making everything, and then shopping becomes really overwhelming and
Yeah.
consuming in general. But I think it's really good. And that's step in the right direction that I'm at least asking myself these questions. And then it's like, what am I willing to compromise today? Am I willing to compromise a non-biodegradable packaging if I am getting a clean product? Or, where are my compromises in my life and what am I doing? But I think the biggest thing is I'm thinking about what I'm doing, and I'm thinking about a perspective of like, is this a healthy brand? Is this something that I can stand behind? Is this something I would want to tell my kids about the brand that I use? Like, are they having a great space for their workers? Like, how are the
Mm-hmm.
factories? How is like down to the line? And I think you're right. We as consumers, things end up on our shelves and we just buy them. And we
Mm-hmm.
do have a responsibility to dig a little bit more and stand up to the companies that really are making a difference and ask for those things to be on our shelves and like really respond in a way that's going to make some of those regulations behind those products. And I mean, I don't know. I'm not in huge political or government backing, and I don't have any legal like background, but I feel like with some rules for these companies, there would have to be some responsibility held up. And I think that some of that could start, in little ways there. I don't know how you feel about that, but
Yeah, I think in California, I think it was just in California recently, they passed some laws that certain products or certain ingredients are banned from our beauty products, which is great, but a lot of them are really outdated ingredients and they're not even used in products nowadays. So I think a great thing to look for is if it's EU certified, because in Europe they have a lot more, they have higher standards for their products. And I think a lot of brands are catching on to that. So EU certified, and you can always check on EWG. I go to that. You just put an ingredient in there, and it'll tell you, like on a scale 1 to 6, I think, of how toxic it might be. Those are just some easy ways because,
oh, interesting. I don't think I knew
yeah,
about that. So is it just it's just a site, or is there an app, or is there?
yeah. There's an app too. I believe I think the overarching brand is EWG, and then underneath that it's like Skin Deep. So just look up EWG Skin Deep, and yeah, you can. Sometimes they'll have a whole product database, so you can put in whatever your favorite products and it'll give it again, like that rating. And yeah, that's a super easy way to kind of tell if, if our brands aren't going to be, honest with us, we just have to do the work ourselves, I guess.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. So my next question kind of comes down to empathy and how, from the perspective of creating this brand, like how has empathy played a role in your development of Neo Noel?
Yeah. I feel a lot for people, I feel like I just look at it from my perspective first, I guess. So just, I feel bad if I can't wear a product or if something looks bad at me. Like it's embarrassing to buy something and then it doesn't look good on you, which I think is a universal thing. It's not just a woman of color thing. I think everyone has an experience of buying something and that's not the right shade, but it's a consistent thing with women of color. And it's embarrassing. And it's just kind of sad that we have this kind of separate makeup experience. So even, there are great brands out there that are for women of color, but now they're having to, it's almost like a separate experience. So women of color, we have to go to this brand, but everyone else can go to these major brands that are found in Sephora. But these specialized brands are maybe only online or maybe in not so many retailers. So I really felt like I wanted an even and equitable playing field when it came to makeup. And I just want everyone to feel and look good. And I want it to be accessible to everyone. Cause I don't know. I just want everyone to just, yeah, have an equitable, fair, fun makeup experience. It shouldn't be stressful. It shouldn't be, such a hard experience trying to find makeup. And yeah, that's kind of where I come from. And, also not just makeup, but I think the education portion of it too. So a lot of people don't know that women of color they're more likely to buy more products with toxins. So now women of color, they're getting more likely to get acrylics, Brazilian blowouts, and and skin lighteners are advertised to them, only this group of people. And we're not really educating them on why they should make the switch to clean. So I don't know. It's just all of that. It does weigh heavy on my heart that in all aspects, women of color, we've got a little bit more work to do. And I don't know. That's kind of a roundabout way of saying that I just kind of feel bad that we have different experience in beauty than, certain other group of people.
Yeah, it's not fucking right. And
Yeah.
I think that it's the responsibility of the consumers like me who can walk in and put on whatever shade we want. And it's I can run in, if I'm on the way to an event, I can run in and grab something off the shelf and it's probably going to look okay.
Yeah.
And that's not the case for everyone. And I think that it's a responsibility on my shoulders to ask more questions and to think more, of my friends and especially my friends of color who don't have that same experience. And oftentimes, like you said, their products are around the corner on another
Hmm.
shelf. Like
Right.
literally in some of the stores around where I live, it's like the black hair products are by the tampons. Like, what the fuck are they like around
Right.
the other shampoo? Like, how fucking annoying and confusing and exhausting. And so, for me, that idea of, empathy and really consuming from a product standpoint, as if
Yeah.
I didn't, wasn't able bodied, as if, I was a woman of color, as if, XYZ, gender,
Yeah.
um, pronouns, as if I like what I look back and I think about some of those ads that like spoke to me as a child, or like, especially like maybe it's Maybelline, maybe like those sort of things. Like it's just damaging. And you think back to like all of the layers, and I think you touched on this a little bit about this institutionalized way that we're spoken to by
Yeah.
brands, and the difference it is to be a woman of color being spoken to by brands, than it is me. So
Yeah, and it's not really, I don't see that we can point fingers at anyone. I think, if you're maybe a white brand founder and you just haven't had the same experiences as a woman of color, you don't know until someone tells you. You might not have anyone in your circle that's a person of color, or any of these other identifying factors. You just don't know. So that's why I think it's also really just important to diversify your team so you don't have those blind spots. But yeah, you
Yeah,
just don't
you
know
went
until you
right where
know.
I was going to go next. I was
Yeah.
going to ask. I think that that's extremely important. And I think on the forefront of being here in Minneapolis and watching what went down, with George Floyd, and watching the uprising and being on the forefront of what it's like to be in a company that is, they started caring and thinking. I won't go, I don't know if the word care is, I'm using that really, really heavily right now. So I think they really started focusing and thinking about what is our DNA of our company. And after really looking at it, I work for a marketing company that has, 22 global offices, and we are still like 93% white. So how in like that global of a company are we not doing, and especially, it gets worse as you go up the ladder in leadership too, right? So
Yeah.
what can companies do, and what are you doing at your company to really bring forward all of those diverse perspectives that are so needed
Yeah.
in spaces? As a new founder of a company, I'm sure that weighs heavily on you.
Yeah, it's funny, yeah, that you bring that up too, because as I'm building a company and I want to have that diverse team too, but as I'm looking for people, I find that it is hard to find kind of a diverse range of people. So maybe I'm thinking it's kind of starting from the educational piece, or lower, and maybe in high school, or people of color need to maybe see more role models that in these higher positions, or we need mentors or more educational, just more educational things directed for young people of color. Because when I'm looking for people to help me out with my brand, like I said, it is kind of hard to find them. I'm primarily finding white candidates, white men, pretty much. Because right now I'm just looking for freelancers. So
Yeah.
I from that I can kind of see it's maybe, yeah, like an educational piece, or maybe a financial piece, which I think is really good that these webinars, like I mentioned earlier, from all these other beauty brands have been focusing on just Black beauty founders, because I think that's really what we need. That's kind of the push I needed. And I feel like if a lot of other young people had that push too, and that mentorship and the education, then I think the hiring pool would be much more diverse. But because we either don't have that education piece, or that those role models for them, I'm in my situation, I'm not seeing a lot of them. So I can kind of understand where these bigger companies are coming from. You want someone that's, maybe if you're obviously a more well-established brand, you want to employ someone who already has a lot of experience and that background. You don't want to have to teach them from the ground up. So I kind of get that. So I think it's really important that maybe these bigger companies give back and start educating or mentoring young people of color, because I really see that white space in the employment pool right now.
I think that's so absolutely wise. And I can obviously tell looking in your eyes, and you're passionate about this and the impact that that's had on you to have that opportunity to really grow. And I'm so excited
Yeah.
to see what you do with this brand. And I know that you have lots going on, and there's a lot of development time and energy going towards your brand right now. And I just wish you the best of luck. I want you to leave our listeners with some parting advice on what is the biggest lesson you've learned so far through all of this, and how they can take that into daily life.
Yeah, I mean, if you're an aspiring business person, or you have an idea but you're too scared to maybe make that jump, I would just say do as much as you can to teach yourself. Like we said earlier, Google is your best friend, but always fact check it. Podcasts are great, and I would always say maybe reach out to people who are in your position, who you'd want to be like. So I always look to other beauty founders, and I'll listen to every interview they've ever done, and I'll look up their background. I'll search everything about them and try to do that education piece for myself. But yeah, just make that leap and then just do it, and really making the switch to being that business mindedness, because this was my biggest issue. So I'm always, still am, a people pleaser, and that's really not great in the business world, because it's, at the end of the day, it's a business, and you need to get stuff done the right way. And if you don't want to hurt anyone's feelings, and then you're not going to have the vision that you want your brand to be. So that's what I had. Even in the law firm, that was before I embarked on this. When I worked at the law firm, was major people pleaser. I didn't want to discipline people. I was just this young girl in her 20s, and I didn't want to tell people like, hey, you can't do that, or we got to do this right. But it's a law firm, and if you make one mistake, then it's like big time trouble. So really getting over that people pleasing, and just going for what you want to do, and just do it. And if you just back yourself with knowledge and education, I think you can do it. And just, it may not happen overnight. That's another thing that with me is I want things to happen quickly. But really take the time to iterate and learn from other people, I think is really important.
I couldn't echo all of that any more than you eloquently said that. So I couldn't agree more. I think that for me, the biggest thing is patience. I don't have a lot, and I've learned over time that it does take time, and there are going to be a lot of iterations before it's the right iteration. So be patient with yourself and have some grace, and just go after what you want in life.
100%.
Well, thanks so much for hanging out with us. Where can people find you and Neo Noel?
Yeah, so on all socials, we're at Neo and Noel, so NEO and NOEL. And you can always check us out on our website, Instagram. That's where we're most active. And you can, hopefully we have some cool updates by the time this is up.
Well, you girl are taking on the world, and I have no doubts that you are going to make it a better place. So
thank you so much. And thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. Of course. And let's continue the conversation on Instagram. You can find us at Blunt Cuts Podcast. Blunt Cuts is a production of Matriarch Digital Media. Executive producer Twyla Dang. Edited by Beth K. Gibbs. Production assistant Mia Register. You can find more great podcasts from Matriarch Digital Media at matriarchdm.com.